Welcome, my name is Emily Newman and I'm the Senior Education Coordinator of the American Humanist Association. Today for our monthly Speaking of Humanism series, we have Steve Hurd to talk about the community impact of humanist schools in Uganda. Steve Hurd taught economics and geography in a secondary school in Uganda from 1970 to 1972. After joining the Center for Research in International Teacher Education at the Open University, he became co-director of a British Council-funded ELATE project that worked with a team of 50 in Uganda to create computer-based materials to support teachers across the secondary curriculum. This provided the opportunity to get to know the humanist community and schools in Uganda. And in 2008, he set up the Uganda Humanist Schools Trust to raise funds to support them, and a new humanist studies program is developing resources to help them widen their curriculum. So thank you so much for joining us, Steve, especially since you are coming from the UK. So you're much later than we are, but we appreciate your time.
And thank you all for showing an interest in the humanist schools in Uganda. We're supporting a number of schools, but I've chosen to focus on one school. This is arguably the first humanist high school in the world, established in 2005. And I'm not yet aware of one that's later, but if anybody does know one, please let me know and we'll modify this. But it would be very good for the school to know if it is the first, that it was the first. Isaac Newton High School was founded by Peter Kisirinya. This is Peter. Peter was introduced to humanism by his Ugandan biology teacher at a Catholic secondary school. And I'm going to play a clip of Peter talking about how he came across humanism in a moment. He was the first child in his district to go to university and studied physics, chemistry, and education at Makerere University, which is the top university in Uganda still. He started a correspondence with Paul Kurtz at university, the Center for Inquiry, and Paul Kurtz sent a library of books on humanism over to Kampala, and they established the Paul Kurtz Library. So that was very important in the early days. And they invited IHU, International Humanist and Ethical Union, which is now Humanists International, to mount an East African Humanist Conference. And this was actually their first national conference. Peter, after graduating, taught science in a government school. He still teaches in a government school while being director of Isaac Newton School. He teaches science at Isaac Newton School at the weekends.
Peter Kisirinya, Managing Director, Isaac Newton High School. The school is a secular humanist school. Students from the age of 13 to the age of 18. I became a humanist during my time when I was attending a high school, where we had a teacher who was teaching us biology. He invited us to class and he started talking about the issues of life. So he wanted us to ponder around the origin of life, how life started, and what's the purpose of people living on earth. That if God was all powerful and was the Almighty, could he really be interested in human beings worshiping him? So by introducing us to such an idea, we started wondering whether actually the idea of religion was the best idea to consider. We are attending a faith-based school. I think about religion that one time we go to heaven, it is nothing, because even other living organisms have life, and they also need oxygen to breathe. They need the food to survive. So we are not any more better than the other animals. So to say that if you human beings can live harmoniously with others, help them out in their problems, that is the best way of living life, and that will be the purpose of having life. So from that moment, we wanted to know whether there are other people who believe in such an idea, an ideology. So at that time we didn't have internet, we went to the school library, we picked some books and we tried to check for humanists around, people who have the same ideas as our teacher. And our checking, we came up across the humanists, and we had a contact with the International Humanist and Expo Union. So we went to the university from high school, and we continued trying to make a contact through the Norwegian Humanists and through the Center for Inquiry in USA. But through those contacts, we are able to finally get into contact with the IHU, and they accepted to bring an international conference in Uganda in 2004.
Now, in 2005, when Peter established his school, HIV/AIDS was really rampant in Uganda, and very many people of working age were dying, particularly in the area where Peter lived. At the same time, crop yields, cash crop yields were falling for coffee, and rural incomes were very low, and families were finding it very hard to educate all their children. The interesting thing about this area of Uganda is that parents do equally try to educate boys and girls in order of birth, and they keep in school, if they're able to, whichever child is coping with their schoolwork, whether it's a boy or a girl. But schooling is spasmodic for the children. They'll often do a term of schooling in primary school, then they'll miss a term. Girls are taken out of school very easily, particularly at this time, to help at home or for early marriage. And Peter saw education as the key to change. And the local primary school was very poor, and the nearest high school was 10 kilometers away, and it was a Muslim school. That was the only option available for the children there. I came in 2006, and the school had been running for a year, and Peter asked me to talk to the parents at a parents' meeting and have a sort of opening of the school. The Norwegian humanists had been funding a pig project in the area, which had brought the community together. And through that grouping, Peter persuaded them to start building a school. And he had volunteers making bricks. Peter used his own savings from his first year in teaching to pay for the roof of the building. His mother had saved 4 bags of coffee beans that she was waiting for a good price, the best price in the year for selling them. And she gave those beans to Peter to buy bricks for the school. 4 more classrooms and a science lab were built by a humanist from the UK in the northeast of the UK. And since then, since 2008, all the infrastructure of the school, we have funded, actually, our charity has funded. We started by we're a very small charity with an income the first year of £400. And we bought a few books for the school. My research area is the impact of books and resources on learning. And we've flooded the schools with books. And we've run a very successful Reading for Pleasure project, because I think this is part of it's being an educationist, but it's also being a humanist, that if children are to be independent and to make up their own minds about things, they need to be able to read well. And so that's pretty important. Peter is it's very important for Peter that science is strong in the school. And it's very nice to see in a co-educational school, boys and girls doing science experiments together. It's also nice to see Muslim and Christian boys and girls working together on science experiments. I think these are my 2 favorite photographs, actually, of all the photographs we've taken at the schools. We've tried to cater for a whole range of school needs. So desks and chairs over here. Wait a minute, I've lost my pointer. Oh, my pointer has disappeared. Oh, it's here. We've had to provide for school food, because if children come to school without having had breakfast, they can't study, they can't concentrate. And so school food is very important. We provided material for drawing, for artwork. This is they have very good drafting skills in artwork, but in art, before we came, they only had pencil and paper, and no paint or other materials. We provided materials for sports, boys and girls football, and computer labs. And we've gradually helped in lots of ways, as you can see. I'll not read through these, but we thought we'd help in a small way with books, but we've been sucked in, and a school really is a complex organism and needs a lot of things to work successfully. And what we've been working towards is we've chosen to concentrate on a small number of schools and to try and produce decent standards, high standards of education and welfare, rather than to spread our money thinly over more schools. We provide scholarships for bright and needy children to enable them to attend the schools as well. It's quite interesting seeing the development of the site. This is 2008. That was the first building built by Peter with his mother's coffee beans and his savings for the roof. Then the roof came with help from a humanist in the UK. And then gradually the school has grown. One nice thing is they've kept greening the campus of the school. There's been a lot of tree planting, and we actually have a tree planting project across all the humanist schools, which is making quite a bit of difference, and also alerting children to the importance of climate change. 2013, we built three additional classrooms and a science lab. They're quite nice quality buildings. And this year we finished a very large multi-purpose hall, which they use as a dining hall. They use it for debates and for assemblies of various kinds, music, drama, events. This is a Google Earth view of the school. So this is the village. Kisirinia is the village where some of the children come from. They walk quite long distances. Here's a second village. It's really a string of houses along a road. And this is the school. So we've got a girls' dormitory, two girls' dormitories together, two boys' dormitories down here. The new hall is here. That's Peter's first building. This is the first hall, the science lab, block of classrooms, the block of classrooms, and another science lab. Water has been a huge problem because it's on a hill, the school, and the water is a kilometre away down the valley, and we've had to arrange for that to be pumped up. Recently, we've connected the school and the villagers to mains water and power, which has really transformed the community, having clean water on tap and having access to power. The school started with 40 children, and before COVID, they had over 600 students, and 400 actually live in the school. They're boarding in the school. This is a boarding house built with money from the Ethical Society of St. Louis. And it's a very nice building. And here the girls are having a ballot to choose the name of the school. And they put together, the girls, they searched the web and they put together a short list of prominent women from around Africa and across the world. And in the end, they chose to call the hostel Malala Yousafzai Hostel, which is quite amazing, really, that they would choose an Asian girl. And very nice, actually, that they did that. These are the girls ironing their clothes with a charcoal iron. This is a typical room in the boarding hostel. They're quite well spaced, the beds. And one of the nice things about the school and the other humanist schools is when we take people to visit them, they all say they're happy places. And that's very important, that you have good standards of welfare, no coercive discipline in the school. You know, they're collaborative environments. Supporting girls' education has been very important. That nationally, the participation of girls is quite low. There's a high absence rate, especially during periods. And if there's work to be done at home, the parents will often keep the girl off. There's an early dropout rate through marriage pressures. So in the humanist schools, in the first year, they take in more girls than boys. But by the end of the schooling, there are more, there are more boys than girls, although it is changing, and the dropout rate of girls has fallen dramatically as a result of a number of measures. I mean, we've provided reusable sanitary pads in the schools for 4 years now, and they've made a huge difference to girls' participation in school. We've improved toilet hygiene and hand washing. The boarding for the girls provides a safe environment for them to sleep. And there are very many orphan girls, and if they go back to the villages, they tend to be subject to sexual predation. And in the school, boarding is quite important because it keeps them in a safe environment. And we provide scholarships for girls and for boys. A very important point is the school has been very proactive towards girls' withdrawal from school. So Lydia, who was the best girl in science at O-level, which is age 14 to 16, was suddenly withdrawn from school by her mother, who needed help in her shop. Her father had died of HIV/AIDS-related illness. Her mother was very ill. Her only sister had become pregnant and got into a marriage to an older man. And the mother needed Lydia's help. But in fact, Peter went to the mother, went to the uncle, and eventually persuaded her to stay. We provided a scholarship so she could continue. She actually got the best O-level results, exam results in the year, and very good in science, and then went on to do science A-levels. So the school achievements, it educates 600 students, 400 board, boys and girls more or less equally. The O-level results, which is the exams taken at the age 16, the school was 143rd out of 4,123 Ugandan schools. For a rural school, that is absolutely remarkable. It's the 5th school in terms of exam results out of 35 schools in the district. It gets high grades in science. In fact, they were so high last year that the examination board did not believe they hadn't been cheating. And they insisted that all the children come down to the examination board 4 hours away by coach to have an oral exam. And the oral exam confirmed that they knew their science, so their results were upheld. At A-level, age 18 plus, 92% of the children gained university entrance level, the minimum level for university entrance. They've good employment records. One nice thing now is that 25% of the teachers in the school are former students who've been away through university, through teacher training, and they've come back again. And I spoke 2 years ago to a maths graduate who could have, there's a shortage of maths teachers everywhere in Uganda, and he could have gone anywhere, but he wanted to come back to the school to put something back into the community, which is really heartening. The school also helps with staff development. So Winnie, who's the school bursar, they've paid for her to go away and take a degree in accounting, which is really very good. There's a Student Humanist Society who do a lot of volunteering in the community. I picked out two boys, Joseph and Mike. Joseph on the left, close friends. They studied together. They gained A's and B's in science A-levels and went together to study for a degree in dietetics and nutrition. This is what Mike said. I was very happy about my results, although I couldn't share this moment with my beloved dad, who is deceased. My mum is a peasant farmer of 62. She is illiterate, although she wants me to study and attain a high level of education. A degree in nutrition will enable me to help the enormous number of malnourished infants in my village and the country at large. He said that when he was still in school. Now, they both gained first-class honours degrees and then master's degrees in nutrition. Joseph on the left is now a nutritionist working with an NGO in refugee camps in northern Uganda. And Mike has just gone off to do a PhD in nutrition in Australia. And he will come back, and he will come back as a university academic probably. There are equally girl stories as well, but these two were particularly outstanding. The community impact of the school is something that really has crept up on us. We'd never thought about the wider multiplier effects, as I would say as an economist of the school. But the school employs 52 people in various ways, teachers and ancillary staff, and that puts income into the community. It generates local jobs. Hairdressers come in because 600 children need their hair doing. They buy food from the local farmers. They buy fruit from the local farmers. They buy building materials. They use local transport, motorbike taxis. Market traders benefit from the presence of the school. People locally have been renting out rooms to teachers, and it's really greatly increased the income and living standards in the area. Peter has established a humanist farmers cooperative, which is based at the school, that buys seed and fertilizer at cost for the local farmers. The bringing in power and water has really boosted the local economy. There's a 90,000 bird poultry farm being opened over the last year, which employs 33 young people. I've seen a huge rise since 2005 in the quality of houses, the quality of clothes, the quality of possessions that people have. All in all, Peter is delighted by the school's achievements. And we think it serves as a beacon for humanism in Uganda and beyond.